when I saw Anuja for 2 or 3 seconds when the nomination comes out. Best live short film, and they show those clips for like 3 seconds. Denis Villeneuve, Jeff Goldblum, Timothy Chalamet, they're all looking at that screen at something that you have contributed your heart and soul to. It was something that I don't think I will ever forget, and I'll cherish it for the rest of my life.
Welcome to the Scriptcake podcast. I am your host, Lavindra Gill, and this week I am excited to talk to Krushan Naik, the producer and editor of the Oscar-nominated short film Anuja. He is also part of the editorial and content curation team at Tubi. He's garnered multiple awards for his numerous projects and also taught courses in film production and post-production, as well as serving as a film festival judge. Welcome to the podcast, Krushan.
Thank you for having me, Lavender. The way you introduced me, I feel like talking to you almost every week. It's good for my ego.
Well, it's quite a lot to boast about. You've had a really exciting career. So we want to get into that. But before we start with all that, one of the first things I always love to ask filmmakers on the podcast is, how did you get into filmmaking to begin with? Because it's not what you would list, especially for people of Indian descent, one of the top career choices that our families would want us to be in.
Yep, if you put it that way, yes, for sure. I was in advertising for about 7, 8 years back in India. I come from the city called Surat in Gujarat, and I got sick and tired of doing that. So the thought came to my mind where it was something on these lines, like if I was going to be miserable doing what I'm doing for the rest of my life, I might as well just do something that I like and be miserable. So that's what, encouraged me to make the pivot. And I changed careers when, according to the society, I was supposed to get married and have kids and, settle down and hope for Jesus to call me in the next few years. So I came to the States in 2019 for my master's degree, and I could have just started looking for work and made the transition for work to the States, but I kind of like wanted to buy myself some time, and I just didn't want to learn films. I wanted to understand America. I wanted to understand the culture. I wanted to know people. I wanted to know how America works, what goes on, with people's thinking, mindset, like cultural crash course of America, along with understanding how films are made and how Hollywood does what it does best.
Mhm.
So I switched, I pivoted in 2019, and I went to film school, Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, and I got my master's in film production. That's basically how I got into films. So I could say I was into production for a very long time, but it was just a distant cousin, I guess, if it's okay to call that, in advertising. And then I decided to do films, which was much more interesting and also rewarding. Not saying there's not stress or there's not, elements that are tiresome, but it's just fun, and I don't see myself doing anything else.
When you explained how you got into it, how you were doing something you didn't enjoy, and you're like, I might as well do something that I do enjoy and still have
Yeah.
to, kill myself. I had a very similar epiphany because I was, I'm like 21 credits from an engineering degree myself. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I was working for a company as a summer intern, and I was making really good money just as an intern. But I was working 20-hour days and just killing myself and just working my tail off. And I was happy that, financial success was coming, but I was unhappy. It's like, man, I got to work my ass off for this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd much rather work my ass off on something I want to do as opposed to
Correct.
something I don't want to do. So I see a similar background here,
Yeah. I
where I was,
completely relate with you on that thought.
yeah, I just made that beat, and I was like, you know what? I might as well do what I want to do. If I got to work my ass off, no matter what it is, it might as well be something I want to do, and that's what made my pivot happen. So similar
Yeah.
background. So okay, let's talk about going to film school at Loyola. Fantastic school. My nephew just graduated from there last year in the undergraduate program, and
Congratulations.
yeah, I got to go to the campus and everything. It was beautiful. And how does that go from you're making films in school? Is that where it starts, the film production, as opposed to the commercial production that you were doing before? What's the big shift for you? What do you see as the difference between working in advertising and working in film?
The scale is bigger. Even though if you're making short films, the scale is much, much, much bigger.
Mhm.
The other thing, I mean, it's if we involve school, then I would say like it hurts when your paychecks get converted to grades. It's not something that you look forward to for a few years, and you're like, I cannot wait to get done with this. But at the same time, I kind of like had to tell myself like I'm here for a purpose, and there's a reason why I chose to do what I want to do. So, and along with scale, things are different. You basically have to, there's a script, there's a story. You basically there's a narrative that you're trying to get across, and you want your audience to, learn something from your film or understand something that, you try hard to put it on paper, and then you hope that it translates to big screen. There's a commonality in advertising as well. When you design campaigns and stuff, that same stuff goes into it, but it's on a much smaller level. And it's basically you're trying to sell a product for someone. You're just helping them put a face to something that they have manufactured. Because I worked with manufacturers back home, and they were all into textiles because Surat probably is still known as the textile capital of India. Maybe not. Don't I haven't fact checked that, but I was told many times that Surat is the textile capital. So I was dealing with clients from that segment. So when I made the pivot, the first thing that was joyful for me was in advertising. You have directions. Basically, this is the area that you have to stick with. You cannot digress, because there's a goal of selling the product. Ultimate goal is that. Whereas in films, I can, sit down and think, what do I believe in? What my beliefs are, or what do I want to say? What is my voice, or what social cause or anything that you believe in can come on the big screen, and how can you make it the way you feel that this is you, but at the same time it also connects with the audience.
Mhm.
That reminds me of something that my dad used to tell me anytime, because he's my dad is a Gujarati. I'm a Gujarati, and we come from pure business background. So anything that's not business, or engineering, or a doctor, it's hard to convince the family. So my dad used to tell me, why can't you ever do something that people understand? Why do you always have to go in the opposite direction? And I used to, even when I was coming to the States, he told me, I'll tell you in Gujarati and then I'll translate. He's like, "કે એવું કરજે કે લોકોને સમજ પડે," meaning do something that people understand. Don't just go doing things that no one understands, because anything that I did back then, when I was in college, I studied animation, and this was like in the I think it was 2008, 2009, 10. And animation back in Surat was a huge. It's not no one had heard of it, and like people were like India was still learning about those things. So I was excited, and I had to explain my parents about it. So anything and everything that I've done, he just tells me, can you just for once do something that people understand? And I've just like, nope.
Well, this is where I differ from you. My father is an oil painter. He's an artist and a
Oh
college
wow.
professor. So he's been from the day I announced I was going to film school. He's like, I know you'll be a big success, and has always been my biggest supporter. Yeah. My
Is
mom,
he
on the
is he
other
open to sorry, is he open to adopting?
well, he's 93 now, and he has adopted before, so I have an adopted sister, but I don't know about now. My mom, on the other hand, would say one artist in the family is too many.
Oh.
It's enough. You'd think it'd be enough, but no, it's because it's too many. But I've been blessed to get a lot of support and understanding from my family, and especially from my wife. But that's fascinating. So I look at your IMDb credits, and I see three different categories where you've done close to double digits. You've edited quite a few projects, you've directed quite a few projects, and you've produced quite a few projects. So how do you fall into those three categories? Is there one you prefer? Like how does that work out for you?
Yeah, it's not something that I chose to do. That's how my track it's how it all happened. And because when I came here, I again, this is a lot of, a lot of retrospecting that you do, just by talking to yourself when you're by yourself. I didn't want to be rigid. I'm going to be fluid. I came here to be a director. I wanted to learn how to make films and write and stuff. But along with ambition, I also had to make peace with reality. When you are in a different country, you have some legal limitations, and there are a lot of things that that you have to think of when you want to start a career.
Mhm.
Um, so yes, I did come here to become a director, and I'm still, trying to finesse my skills in that area. But I had to pay my bills. And editing was something that I already knew from before. And production was something that I was very comfortable with. Like things, I'm a people person. I love socializing. I love making things happen. If someone throws a challenge at me, I don't get confined. It's like a flower. I just bloom. I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. So I picked up any and everything that came in my way, and especially when I was when in school, you don't really have there's a small pool that you can pick from, and you want to try and do any and everything that you can. That was also my mindset. Like I wanted to play all the different roles that I could because I knew nothing about filmmaking,
Mm.
and I also specifically chose a school. I had applied to a few schools, and I specifically chose Loyola because the program back then was the first year you basically end up doing everything
Mhm.
little by little. And then in the second year, you pick your specialization and then you move forward and so on and so forth. So I I tried, like I said, I tried everything, and editing was something that just came naturally to me. I also was teaching editing and VFX at school because that was also like the way I could make, as a TA, I could make money. And that translated into when I graduated, it translated into getting me a job as a teacher. I got my Avid certification. I had an Adobe certification. So I kind of like just went, really deep into it because anytime I pick something, I love going, farther than, just what people have told me. Like, oh, you do this, that's fine. But then I'm like, nope, what's after this? What's after this?
Yeah.
So there's this book from Avid for beginners. It's 101 and 110. I probably must have it's a fat book. I probably must have read those books like 6 times each.
Oh, wow.
And I just there was a point where, if you woke me up at 3 a.m. at night and told me like, hey, there's this issue with Avid, I wouldn't even have to open the software. I would just tell you in my brain, like, go here, do this, do this, do this.
Wow.
So I loved technical stuff, and I kind of like kept doing that. And at the same time, producing was something that just came naturally. So when it was time for me to make my films, I had to, because you're in film school, for in order to graduate, you have certain specific requirements, and one of them is to make a film.
Mhm.
So I made my first documentary, a substantial documentary that I was proud to show the world, like, hey, this is something that I feel like I'm ready to show you so
Mhm.
that you don't laugh at me. um, and that's when I had the real taste of producing in America. And it didn't come across as a surprise because most of the elements that go into producing something is getting it all together. How are you going to do it? What the logistics and the budget and the timing and the by this time you're supposed to be doing this XYZ, same stuff in advertising. The product is going to be launching at this date. We need the product, we need the launch to happen at this date. So there are a lot of parallels. So I kept doing that, and that's how I kind of like, I took advantage of those three and a half years at school. I should have graduated in 3 years, but I had to drop a few credits in my last semester because of financial challenges. And so I graduated in December after 3.5 years.
Mhm.
So, and during that time, I did everything that I could. And I think directing, producing, and editing are three of those things that really fuel me. I lighten up when I have to talk about those things.
Mhm.
So that's basically how it all came together.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the projects that you worked on. So, what was the first project that you got to be, in these capacities in where you were in charge of it? Because I know in film school you crew for a lot of other people, just so you can
Yeah.
learn how to roll cables and you can learn how to, you know,
Mhm.
even do crafty and stuff like that. You got to do all the little steps along the way, but eventually
Yeah.
you get to the point where you're the point person on a project. Which project was that for you?
For me, it was my first documentary that I made. It was called Resurgence. It
Hmm.
was about a Canyoneer who had a near-death accident in the canyons of southern Utah.
Hmm.
And the story, it revolves around, mental health. Basically, it focuses, highlights the disparity between physical, emotional, and spiritual healing of any person that goes through any sort of trauma. So it was a very exciting project, something that I would not do it the way I did it because I made the whole film by myself. I absolutely had no help. I took no help because I had to travel from Los Angeles to Zion. The canyon where this accident happened was on the
Yeah.
cusp of Zion. So, and I had no money. So I just packed my gear and drove to Utah and the shot. There are two people whose contribution was very instrumental. One was my professor back then. His name is Daniel Youngie. He's an Academy Award winning director, and he was my professor, and he's been my mentor for forever, I can think. And his guidance was very instrumental in getting this stuff. So, and I also credited him as the executive producer because without him, that it wouldn't have been possible. So
Mm.
his guidance and his knowledge helped me shape and kind of like helped me set the basis of my filmmaking, naive career at that point. And the other person who put her heart and soul into this is Rachel Corrales, who was the sound mixer.
Hmm.
Because I can do everything until picture and edit, but sound is something that scares me. And I just once I had a cut, I called her and I just said like, hey, I have this documentary and I want you to see if and I really want you to work on it if you have the time and the bandwidth because she was a student and also a professor at LMU and she has a lot of experience and she has won an academy recognition for her sound designing and in one of her older films. So that's how Resurgence came together, and of course there are many people along with film. As you know, film takes a lot of time to come together, and it's not just what you do while you are making the film or like on production and stuff. So when I say that like I brought the whole film together, it was just purely on the production aspect, but there's so many people that gave their guidance and wisdom
Yeah.
to put it all together and hey, maybe try this, maybe try that. So that's how that came together. And I feel as a first film, going through all the aspects of filmmaking from, from the inception of the idea to writing to directing, producing, DPing, editing, and being the sound production sound mixer on the set. It kind of like gave me a sense where I may not be an expert in all these departments,
Hmm.
but I have enough knowledge to be able to have a conversation with you about this is what I'm looking for. But after a point, when you go into the technicals of sound, then I can like, maybe I'll pull back and I'll explain you with, trying to draw some parallels of like, hey, I want to jump over here or something of that sorts. So this is something that I feel like I was inspired by Nolan, and he in one of his interviews said this, like he doesn't consider himself to be an expert on all different departments, but he has enough knowledge to, be able to talk about those
Yeah.
things. And when I was on the journey of learning, it made more sense to me, and it kind of like that's exactly how things happened. So when you look at someone and you're inspired and when something like that happens to you in your life, it's not only just the logical sense that you've experienced it, so you connect with it more.
Yeah.
So that's basically how the first Resurgence came together.
No, I felt like when I produced my first film after film school, um, it was almost like an entire other film school. Like I learned
Yes.
so much. You know, one thing's theory and one thing's practice when you're doing it under the tutelage of mentors and a university, and you have cameras and you have sound stages and you have editing suites. But when you're making it on your own and you're out there, and you
Yeah.
know, yeah, you have to know every little thing, and it's come in handy so many times on subsequent films. I've had DPs that said, "I need this, and this." And I'm like, no, you don't. You need this and that and that. That's all you're getting. And you know, because if I didn't know, I would just, okay, I guess it's what they need, and I'll give it to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the experience of, being a DP and shooting some projects and, shaping with light, that comes in handy on all the subsequent projects. I bet that experience has impacted all your films.
I believe so. I think so. I have learned a lot from all different projects and films that I've worked on, and it's the learning comes in bits and pieces. There's not one entire film that teaches you everything about filmmaking because all films are different, and I don't have any experience with feature length films, but the
Mhm.
short films that I have worked on, they have taught me so much that I feel after making the many short films that I have made or, worked in collaboration with people, I feel, it's just bringing all the different short films together to be able to make a feature film on a bigger scale. So if advertising was probably the stepping stone for being able to make, short films, then I think short films is another stepping stone for making feature. And I'm happy to go from zero to wherever
Mhm.
that this journey takes me because I like learning, I like knowing everything, and just being able to have intellectual conversations with people and not just come across as like this person doesn't know what they are talking about.
As I was researching for this interview with you, I came across a quote. There is no story without suffering.
Oh, you did a lot of research. Oh boy.
Can you tell me about this quote, please?
Oh boy, no one has ever asked me this question on a podcast or any interviews because no one has cared to go that deep. Let me ask you this question. Where did you find it?
That was on your press kit for Resurgence
Oh, yes.
or your
Yes.
bio.
As a South Asian, growing up in India, when I came to America, there were a lot of changes that I had to make personally and professionally. Growing up in India, I can say I grew up with privilege. Having to learn, never have to like worry about cooking my food or, taking care of the chores of the house and just every aspect of, living, basic stuff that everyone needs to learn and know how to do was something that after I made the transition to America is what I learned.
Mm.
Initially, I was like, I don't know how to do any of these things. But now I'm like, everyone needs to know this. This is the basic stuff. This is how you live. And maybe this is my life. Different people have different opinions, perspectives, to each its own. But this is my story. And I had to, I I want to thank myself for being open to breaking my entire internal structure and rewiring myself.
Wow.
It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort. And yes, it does come across like people who have never seen that side of the world might just come across as like, oh wow, this doesn't feel like a challenge to me. And okay, great, perfect. But it's what I had to go through. That's one aspect. What other thing that I had to do was, when you go back to school, you share your life for how many ever years you are in school with a lot of people and from different ages. For me, I went back to school when I was turning 30. So
Mhm.
I was sharing my classroom with people coming from, different parts of the world and different ages. And, to be able to understand how things work, how communication works in America, and how you have to navigate your life, along with all the other legal challenges and the many things that come for a non-immigrant person in a foreign country, for an expat, if I may use that word, it's funny how the verbiage plays such an important role in our lives, and I'm trying to improve myself on that. So what had happened was when I moved here in 2019, within the first 6 months when I was trying to understand America and what it is, and like, because everything is different from crossing the streets to walking on the streets to using the restroom.
Yep.
We were hit with the pandemic, and then we were all pushed back into our homes, um, which was followed by Black Lives Matter and the presidential election, and there was like a lot of stuff that was going on in this country.
Yeah.
And I was learning as a student. I feel the best way to say this is like I could have been in a university for about 6 years getting a PhD and trying to understand American culture, but I feel the universe didn't have that time for me. They said, no, 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 no. We're just going to show you everything in 2 years' time. So just, everything. This is what America, is, the good, the bad, the best, the worst, and like how every country has its challenges and, good things. America is not, it's the same. Good stuff, bad stuff, things that might work for some people might not work for some people. So, as an individual, I had to learn all these things because I wanted to make my life, in America. And, this is the country that I was going to call home for in the future. So it takes a toll on a person, and when you're trying to navigate a different country without, no family members, or like, I mean, I have family across America, but um, in your day-to-day life, there are certain things that you have to navigate on your own. And I was trying my best. So when the pandemic hit, I couldn't afford to live in LA, and the schooling went online. So then what I had to do was I made the transition to Utah because of cost of living. And I was living there, which the period of me living in Utah was very interesting, learned a lot. And That's when I kind of like had my highs and lows. And in my lowest, I kind of like just told myself that, there's no story without some suffering.
Hmm.
So I gotta like have hope. I gotta keep hope. I gotta keep moving. There is something good towards at the end of this tunnel. And hope is what helped me keep pushing myself, not going into very, very, very specifics, but think of your time when you felt that everything that you had planned in life backfired.
Hmm.
You decided to leave your home, you decided to go to another country, all your investments, money, your education. I came here to learn films, and I mean, you can learn films online, watching YouTube tutorials and all that stuff. Yes, you can learn, but you need practical experience to be able to like, get into the depths of the field. And I was not getting any of that, and I was just learning stuff online, and it just felt like, oh, I could have done this from India. Why do I have to pay so much money and stuff? So it was in that time when I don't know when it came up, but I just felt like, oh, wow, all of this suffering probably has a meaning somewhere down, in the future. So I should just keep going. I had to give myself hope. And it's funny because in India, if you fall sick, you have friends and family, and you're always surrounded by people. Within the next hour, you are, you're getting care from your family or friends, or you're at the doctor's, clinic and stuff.
Yeah.
But
And all your relatives are doctors, so that helps.
but so when I was there, it was like, if I fall sick over here and if I don't tell anyone, I probably for like weeks, people are not even going to know what's going on with me. And like, if something happens, like dark, dark, dark thoughts.
Yeah.
So I had to tell myself, like, you have to learn, and you have to learn to get up. You have to tell yourself that no matter how hard you're punched in your gut, you have to get up for the next one.
Mhm.
And basically that's the agenda of life. And things are going to happen and you're going to fall, but as long as you know that you have to get up, it's fine.
I was consulting with a writer yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, you can't have a story without the pain and where it comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where the lesson is learned. Uh,
Right.
so you have
You
to
need to
know
be in a
how.
bit of discomfort, to be able to grow. And like, let's say you're making all investments and stuff, and all of a sudden a tree fell on your car, and there's this huge expense that's on you, and you were thinking like, oh my God, I have all these investments in place, and then now there's this huge dent.
Mhm.
So then immediately you'll start thinking, oh my God, I need to do more. So that kind of like also pushes you in a direction,
It
right?
does. It
So
absolutely
you
does.
need you need that little bit of that stuff, I feel.
Yeah, if I look back to the biggest successes in my life, they are almost immediately preceded by some of the biggest failures in my life. And there's a very clear
Mhm.
pattern there. So now when I know something's going bad, I'm like, ooh, something good's about to happen.
Yeah.
And my mindset allows me to just, not get quite as down in the doldrums as I used to.
Yeah.
So I love the quote.
Yeah.
There is no story, but I will,
Thank you.
I will use it in my teachings. Yes.
Thank you. I don't claim to be the first person to say that, but it was just a feeling that I had from like it mostly comes from trying to understand America, and because I want to make my life over here, it's there's so many things that you have to learn, and I want to learn it the right way. There's no right way. I get it. You have to fall, you have to get up, you have to fall, you have to get up. But it's very interesting, and different people have different opinions about different things. I just need to understand what I have to do in and whatever is possible with the limited means that I have to be able to do the best that I can, to be able to make a good life in America.
Moving back on track. Let's get back on
Hmm.
track. Okay, so
Sure,
you've make
sure,
Resurgence. Talk about some of the other projects that you've had the benefit of being a part of and were able to learn from.
sure. So when I just quickly just going back to when I was working on Resurgence, I knew I wanted to do something with it because I was extremely proud of my film,
Hmm.
and I was starting to navigate film festivals. So I started sending out my film to festivals, and which it just after a point it started blowing up for me, and
I mean,
it's
if I recall, Resurgence was in like dozens and dozens of film festivals.
yes, it was
Yeah,
accepted into more than 30 film festivals, and I grabbed more than 15 awards, and
fantastic.
it was something that just I never in my wildest dreams I had anticipated something like this to happen, because the first film festival that I even got accepted into was after 6 months of rejections, and almost when I had lost every hope. That's when I got into I think St. Louis, which was my first ever an academy qualifying film festival, and I went nuts. I went crazy nuts. I couldn't process, and I had so much imposter syndrome that I sent them an email asking, is this real, or is there like something that I have to do that to qualify for this? And I had no idea how to deal with this whole thing. So I was just learning everything, and then it just started getting accepted into so many other film festivals, and it also that whole journey for a year and a half. I went on to so many festivals. I went to as many film festivals as I could because I wanted to talk to the people, network. I didn't know anyone, so I felt like this is the best way to meet people because I can see their work and immediately talk about it, as opposed to
Absolutely.
like just going for coffee and like oh, I have to do some research and stuff. So when I had that experience and when things blew up, I came back to LA and I reached out to a few of my friends and I said like, hey, we have made these films, let's just not have them on hard drives. Let's start pushing them out. So everything that I learned with Resurgence, I put back into the other two films, Death and Taxes and Unrest in Peace. Unrest in Peace is a horror comedy, short horror comedy, and Death and Taxes is a drama. So we sat down, we started. If I sent Resurgence to each and every festival that I could think of, when we were strategizing the film festival circuit for Unrest in Peace and Death and Taxes, it was much more streamlined, and we knew what we were doing at that time, and we knew how to reach out to festivals, and so the success ratio, if in term not success ratio, but like in terms of like the acceptance rate, Death and Unrest in Peace has such higher acceptance rates as opposed to Resurgence,
Mhm.
because we at that point I knew like what we were getting into. So that's how it all came together for the other two films, and it was not until uh, I think I was still in school and I was graduating or something, and my uh, professor who I mentioned earlier, my mentor Daniel Yangi, connected me to a friend of his who was friend with the director of Anuja, they said, there's because I had asked Daniel, like, hey, if there's any work out there, I would love to be connected. And that's how I also got on board with Anuja. And everything that I had learned with all the other three films, I just poured my heart and soul into Anuja as well, along with all the other films. And that's basically the journey.
Yeah, let me pause you before you jump into Anuja because I have some questions about
Yeah, yeah.
the film festival process. Because A, I don't think enough filmmakers, whether you have a film in in a festival or not, you should still
Hmm.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, last Friday, I went to a film festival. I didn't have a film in it. My producer Andy for my last film, Andy Silverman, was here. We were shooting some stuff, and he was going to the festival, so I just went with him. And we ended up meeting two or three filmmakers that have done some feature films that live 10 minutes from me.
Mhm.
This festival was like an hour away, 45 minutes an
Wow.
hour away. And you just don't even know, speaking of grocery stores, you're walking by people that are also filmmakers. In LA, it happens probably more, but here,
Yeah.
in the suburbs of Philadelphia where I live, um, what a great thing where you go to every festival you can, especially if you have a film in the festival because people want to meet you at that point and they want to talk
Yeah.
to you and the networking is extraordinary. Can you talk a little bit about some of the experiences you had that benefited you from going to film festivals?
Oh, 100%. I was very, very thrilled. And again, my answer is not just for, it's not a straightforward answer for just filmmakers excited to like understand film festivals. My idea was if I go to this film festival, I get to explore the city. The same thing that I, told you before.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
also how I explored America.
Oh.
Um, and I went to cities that I would have never even thought of going to, or would have never known that this exists.
Hmm.
And along with that, when I was graduating, I met a lot of lawyers to understand like, hey, I want to transition from being a student to, being a professional in America, and what do I need to do, and how does this whole system works?
Hmm.
And I'm super type A personality, individual, and I like to like reverse engineer things as opposed to like I'm gonna figure it out as I go. So I took a lot of guidance from different people, and I said like, see, this is my end goal, and like, what do I need to do so I can like start putting in the effort and time and energy that I have to. And there are certain requirements that you're supposed to meet as an individual artist. So that's something that it felt possible only through film festivals. All the awards that I won, all the recommendations that I got, all the articles, press, all the different things that and later on I learned that the whole visa process is designed in a way that it kind of like it has a parallel with like how filmmakers do or like go up their career. You make a project, you get press, you go to festivals, you do your press tours, and you do so many things to advertise your film.
Hmm.
It's basically you doing the same thing to be able to but it's no guarantee that you're going to get into festivals, or if you're not going to get into festivals, let alone win an award. So it was an opportunity that I just went blind. I also, after 6 months of rejection, when I got into festivals, I felt like this probably is the first and the last film festival that I will go into. And that went from the first festival to about more than 30. Of course, I didn't go to all the 30 film festivals, but with my first film, I had a goal. I wanted to screen Resurgence in all the 50 states of America.
Wow.
I didn't quite reach the whole number, but I after a point, like, there were other responsibilities. So I kind of like, but I did pretty good with that. And film festivals gave me probably, not probably, like I could say like, I got my first podium to tell people, hey, I'm an artist. Look
Yeah.
at my film. And when I saw my film on the big screen for those moments, like I still feel like, wow, it's surreal. Like you see something that you made on the big screen. It's magic.
Yeah.
It's nothing less than magic. So I took advantage of all those things, and I made relationships, I made connections, and I kept on, just going out there. I got the press that I needed. I spoke to so many people about, what I'm trying to do with my life, and like if there's any way they can help me. And like, I got all the help from all the people that who believed that, I had something in me to do this. If you ask me in just limited words, I can say film festivals gave me my visa in this country. Film festivals gave me the podium to express myself as an artist. I found my wife at a film festival.
Oh,
I
wow.
Anuja was, made the journey to the Oscars because of a film festival.
Hmm.
I cannot stress the importance of film festivals enough for an individual filmmaker, or independent filmmaker,
Yeah.
after what I have, gone through.
So the second thing you mentioned that I want to touch on is in subsequent films, you're applying to festivals what's much more efficient. And I would like
Yeah,
to know what was the difference? What did you learn in the first process that you applied to the subsequent ones
yeah, yeah.
and increased your acceptance rates?
So understanding what your film is, being realistic with yourself.
Mhm.
You make a film, it's not going to be, it probably might not be a revolutionizing project
Mhm.
film of yours, or you might think that this was an amazing idea when you were putting it on paper, but when you see the film, you know that it's probably mediocre or it didn't come out to be the way you wanted it to be, and that's okay. You have to accept it,
Mhm.
unless you have the budget to redo it and work on that and get the product, get a film of your choice.
Mhm.
But most of the times we don't. We don't have the means to do it. So we had to be. I'm just going to talk about myself. Like I had to be very realistic with the projects, that the films that were in my pool, and knowing that, I immediately in the second round after Resurgence, I knew that hey, if we get into Sundance, great. If not, in my opinion, I don't feel this is a Sundance level film.
Mhm.
Having to come in terms with that stuff takes courage. People always just go blind, like I'm going to go 10 big film festivals, it has to get into one.
Yeah.
And I am okay telling, like, I don't think this film is worthy of any of the top 10 film festivals.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it might not get into, but I like to keep my expectations really low because I love to be surprised. Simple as that. That's the whole concept. Because I went way high with my expectations with Resurgence, and it completely destroyed my mental health. It's like every rejection from a film festival was like a breakup.
Mhm.
I had to like do therapy. Like, oh my God, I got rejected. My life is ruined. I'm a shitty filmmaker. I don't know what to do with my life. But then that's not true. A film works for some festivals. It doesn't work for some festivals.
Mhm.
We submitted our film to. I'll talk about it in Rest in Peace. It was a horror comedy genre festival.
Mhm.
That's where we had to go with this.
Yeah.
Along with that, we did try to submit to a few film festivals that were Academy qualifying or BAFTA qualifying. If it gets into that, great. But if not, we scored high points with going for genre because they were looking for what we had made.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, we live in an economy where creating something is not enough. You also have to find your audience. That might not be at Sundance in Park City. That might not be in Telluride. That might be probably somewhere in, Santa Ana. They might have a smaller film festival that is probably your audience. And you need to be okay with that. You need to be able to understand that if you go to that film festival, what is it that you can do to get the most out of that film festival?
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you can be realistic with yourself and your team and understand that this is also something that you can put value into, and not just if you get into the top film festivals
Yeah.
or go to the Oscars, that's great. You will live a healthy, long life. Otherwise, I'm sorry, you will often be disappointed, and that's going to be hard a pill to swallow all the time.
Yeah, it's tough when you're first starting out because your goals
Yeah.
are very lofty, and over
Yep.
time you get comfortable with it. And then you start to learn. When you go to enough film festivals, you realize if your screening is a Tuesday at 9 a.m., you're not going to win an award at this festival, because they're putting it at a time no one's going to go see it. But if your screening is
Yep.
Saturday evening in the main theater, you're probably got a good chance at winning an
Prime
award.
time.
You know what I mean? You start, yeah, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but it's every once in a while you figure a few little things out, going, okay, I should
Yeah.
definitely go to this one because, we're going to be in prime time, you have a full house and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yep.
all right. And then I'd stopped you before you were talking about how you got involved with Anuja. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So my professor Daniel, he connected me with Adam, and yeah, but we met at a coffee shop where Adam just sent me the script, and that's yeah, basically that's how we met. Connection came through Daniel. Actually, if you see all my films, that the one that I directed and Anuja came through Daniel. Um, he's made a lot of contribution to my professional career and academic career, I can say. So thanks to him. And along with that, the relationships that I built. I think every film that I worked on, I touch wood, this is my story. I feel blessed. I've made very strong relationships with
Mhm.
people
Good.
that have been going on forever. And I hope they go on forever, because one thing that I learned through the whole process, I'm sorry, I'm jumping way forward and you can stop me if this is not, I feel like, all this film festivals and awards and this and that and Oscars and stuff, it's good. It's great. Yeah, it's fun for an artist, and you get a lot of adrenaline with that, but relationships is really what's going to take you really farther in this journey. It's a marathon.
Absolutely.
So I started investing into that, and all my films have been that way.
Nice. Nice. All right. Well, let's talk about Anuja. So you guys meet in a coffee shop, and how do you end up getting involved, and how do you guys move forward on that?
We so it's very much detailed, but I'll try and give you like the simple version.
Sure.
Uh, I had so initially Adam was going to edit Anuja, and I was working as an assistant editor, trying to help him out with compiling all the footage and getting the hard drive perfectly organized
Hmm.
so that he can work. And what he ended up doing, the first draft that he edited, that's why we're sharing the editing credit on Anuja,
Hmm.
because the first draft that he edited was about 38 minutes, 36 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And at that time, I was doing these festival rounds. And I pitched myself to him saying, like, hey, I have an idea. If you have the bandwidth and the resources, can you give me this film? I would love to show you what I can do with it. You like it, great. You don't like it, you have your version. We
Hmm.
can go with it. And I feel like it might help us with the festival circuit, which is what was going to be our next goal. And he said, okay, great. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that collaboration, because anytime I suggested an idea from any aspect, producing aspect, editing aspect, or post supervisor, I was also the post supervisor on Anuja. He was always open to it, and he said, okay, show me what you have in mind, because sometimes it's hard to verbally explain. I gotta like show it. Like if I tell you like, hey, put this edit this way,
Right.
you don't process it. But if I show you,
Hmm.
oh yeah, this looks okay. So he was very open to these things, and I went back to the edit to give him an 18-minute cut, and then we reverse engineered the film from 18 to 22, because the 18-minute version was just A to B to C, just
Hmm.
beat points. And
Right.
um, the film needed the soul back into
Yeah.
it, the breathing parts, and like to slow down and stuff and all that. So I remember you said something like, your first film out of your film school was another film school for you.
Hmm.
So for me, Anuja, after my master's, was my PhD.
Mm.
It helped me learn so many other things that I had never experienced with any of my films before.
Wow.
So that's the best way I can put this. So it was a PhD program, and also I feel very lucky, or I don't know how these things came together, but the director of the film, Adam, he's a philosopher turned filmmaker, and he's been teaching philosophy for, I don't know exactly, but like probably like 20, 25 years. And he's very strong with his writing,
Mm.
and he has his own theories. And he's not a product of film school.
Mm.
So, and I had freshly come out of film school, so I was like, oh, it needs to have three acts: act one, act two, act three. Tighten it, cut short this, that.
Yeah.
And I'm super high energy guy. Like I can come across overwhelming to people sometimes. And my friendship with him kind of like, is, I learned a lot from him too. So like, he was like, okay, yeah, the American way of filmmaking and like whatever you have learned, but this film needs soul.
Hmm.
This film needs breathing parts. This
Yeah.
film needs, a lot more than what just film school has taught you. So again, going back to like, the experiences that you get by working on every project, and I feel very lucky that a film like Anuja immediately fell into my plate because film school, if I had one objective of films and like how they should be made, and Anuja completely broke that,
Mhm.
and it helped me look at a very different angle of films that and now because I have both ends, I have a different version of me that
Mm.
looks at films very differently, and I need to pause and understand that, okay, does this film really need to be act one, act two, act three? Or
Mm-hmm.
does this film can go slow and can it have some soul like some of the European films?
Yeah.
So this is it's just the learning, the lessons that I learned. And
Hmm.
I'm always entering a meeting thinking I'm the dumbest person in the room. And that always helps me because, you know, I learn a lot. And I don't think I would want to stop that, because if I stop that, then I'm not going to improve. And
Yeah.
that's more important than being right in every answer that you give, I think.
Well, I love a lot of what you're saying right there because one of the big things that I teach when I'm teaching a class on filmmaking or screenwriting or whatnot is it has to be this way, it has to be this way, it has to be this way. In the last
Mm,
class, I say, forget everything I taught you. Now you know everything, it's ingrained in you. Now just go create. Okay?
yeah.
Because now it's time to break the rules.
Yeah.
And it's not
Yes.
like cooking. It's nice to have a recipe when you start, and you
Yeah.
can be a good cook doing that. But you're just copying
Hmm.
everyone else. To be a chef, you have to take this and create and go beyond these guidelines. And that's what a good filmmaker needs to do as well, I think.
Fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I whatever I rambled for 20 minutes, you just put it together in 30 seconds. Great.
Well, your rambling led to this, so thank you so much.
No, no, thank
But
you. That's exactly what I meant.
yeah, and that's exactly right. I'm adapting a book right now into a screenplay, and my first thought was to break down the three act structure and this, that, and the other, and I'm gonna have to lose a lot of things and change a lot of things. And a few weeks ago, I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to write it in a
Mm,
screenplay format and let's see what happens. And that's what I'm in the process of doing. And it's freeing in a way. It's cathartic. Hopefully it'll work out. We'll see. But all right, well, let's talk about the journey with Anuja. Now you have all this film festival skill set, and you start submitting at places. And how does this journey start?
surprisingly, same as Resurgence, I think. A lot of disappointment, res rejections. We got rejected from every big film festival that we submitted to.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, we got rejected from everything, and we had lost hope that this film was going to be seen by, maybe a handful of people and nothing more, and it's going to sit on our hard drive for the rest of our lives. And as it was Holly Shorts that came. So our festival run was really small. Sorry, let me just give you a little brief. We premiered at Dead Center in Oklahoma,
Hmm.
and then went to a bunch of other film festivals. This was right, I think it was in May or June, and then we had Holly Shorts in August. So that was the window of our film festival before it got Oscar qualified. And then we had a few other film festivals that we had submitted to, and once any film pick gets some heat, it the acceptance rate starts going up. So we didn't really pull out from a lot of festivals because we just getting qualified was didn't come across as like, oh, we didn't know where it was going to go all the way. So we were like, let's just keep the festivals as well, because if this thing doesn't work out, we at least still have this, and we are very happy that we won at Holly Shorts and stuff. So August, and something similar that happened with you with your film. When we got nominated at Holly Shorts, I remember I was there with my with the team, and my wife and myself. We were at the Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles, and we were entering, and the director of Holly Shorts was at the same time coming out of the theater. he spots us, and I just say, "Hey, Daniel, hi." His name is also Daniel, and he tells us like, "Oh, you guys should sit in the front, close to the stage. All the filmmakers. That's the area where they sit." And I was like, "Okay, cool. All right, yeah, we'll figure it out when we get inside." And we were also a little late, so we didn't know we were going to get a spot that front in the theater, and we didn't. Our Adam, his family, and everyone, like my director and his family, and everyone were like already had picked up the seats, and we were like right in the middle of the theater. And it was not until when we won, I realized like that was the clue that
Yep.
he planted,
Yep.
but he couldn't say it. And listen, after sorry, after getting rejected from so many film festivals,
Hmm.
and uh, getting accepted into Holly Shorts and being nominated at Holly Shorts back then was like the biggest, thing for us. And we were like, oh wow, we don't know if we're going to win, or like, we had like this 0.01111% of,
Yeah.
hope, because we were nominated, and we felt like, oh, this looks like a good competition. It could go anywhere. And when they announced, I remember I screamed so loudly in the middle of the theater. The whole theater is looking at me, and I just go, yeah. And I went bonkers. I had no idea how that had happened, and it's still fresh in my brain, because that was like the happiest moment. And also the awards night was the exact I had landed in LA in 2019 on, I think, 19th or the 20th of August.
Mm.
And that award we won on the 18th or 19th night. So it was the exact 5-year anniversary of me coming to
Wow.
America. I came as just a dreamer, and here I am with a film that's getting qualified for an Oscar. So my emotions inside are going higher than the Mount Everest, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Where are we going with this? And since then, the life has been Disneyland.
Well, can you get into a little more detail? First of all,
Yes.
for people that don't know, there are a lot of festivals around the country that are called Academy qualifiers. Can you
Yeah.
explain exactly what that is so the audience is clear?
No, for sure. Okay, so for short films, this works differently for features. I'm just going to talk about short films.
Mhm.
So we have about, not we, but there are about 180 to between, the number is between 150 to 200. It's constantly changing, so maybe it's a little here and there, but there are about so many film festivals that are Academy qualified. Now, what that means is not the whole festival is Academy qualified. There's a specific category that the film festival has, which could be documentary, live action short film, animation, and probably experimental. So there are these categories that are specifically given the Academy accreditation. So if you submit in that specific category, and if you win in that category, then your film becomes Academy qualified. What does that mean is like your film is now eligible. It may be eligible to, there are a lot of other rules, like it may be eligible to compete in the Oscars next year.
Mhm.
So if you won in August, we were eligible to submit for the Oscars that happened in 2025 March. So we won in August 2024. So that's the basic rule. There are different ways to get qualified for, make your film get qualified for an Academy for the Academy competition. The other one is you screen your film in a theater. It's called four-walling. And if you play a film for certain amount of time, probably 2 weeks or something. I don't exactly know, but it's like minimum 2 weeks in a specific theater that has all the requirements met for being called an Academy accredited theater or something. You are qualified to submit. And then, once you have that, the submission process starts where, you're supposed to submit your film to the Academy. There's a bunch of forms that you have to fill, and then the whole journey begins. So that's basically your first step into getting your film recognized by, maybe, what do you call it, like an Academy accreditation.
Mhm.
So every year about 180, 200 films, short films. These are specifically short films I'm talking about, not features. They get qualified. Now, what happens is in December every year, the voting period starts. It starts, I think, in before the 15th of December, and the results come out after 15th of December. I don't exactly know the dates. I'm just
Hmm.
taking 15th December. Um, so the voting starts, which is where you start marketing and like, you start reaching out to anyone and everyone who you go you go aggressively on your press tour and you hire a PR and you do everything in your power to be able to get the word out there because it's the Academy members who have to vote. So if the votes don't come in, you don't get shortlisted. So from that pool of 180 to 200 films, you then, the shortlist comes out, which is about 10 to 15 films. I should know the number, but I don't. And I apologize. So 10 to 15 films get shortlisted. Um, and then the same process starts in January, which is when the nominations come out. And the voting period is before 15th of January. And I think the results come out after 15th January. So you do the same thing again, where you go aggressively on your
Well, let's
PR
digress
campaign.
for a second and talk about your
Okay.
reaction once you got shortlisted. What happened at that point? How'd you find out?
The Academy sends out an email,
Hmm.
and it's an email that goes out to all the Academy members, and also there's a press release where all the names are listed, and it's not only for short films, but it's also for all the different categories that are Academy accredited, or from features to short films, and all those short lists come out, and that's when you find out that you have been shortlisted. And in our case, because our film's name started with the alphabet A, we were right at the top. So if you want to name your film, maybe go with an alphabet A. So if you have to, find out that you don't have to go all the way down in the list, like, oh my God, my film's name starts with a Z. It's
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Right.
Which also worked in our favor because when between the time we got qualified, which is when we won at Holly Shorts, and we got shortlisted, that period where they call it the award season, the start of the award season probably starts from like um, late October to I think of March. It goes all the way till the Oscars is when these trade publications come out with a lot of predictions. And Anuja was on it for about 2 weeks in the live action short film, and there were five other films. They shortlist, they predict five names,
Hmm.
and we were for how many of weeks we were there. We were on top because it was A.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
uh, so that I don't know, we were like super excited for that stuff. So those are kind of like things that were very exciting for us that kept happening because there is no way you don't know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
All you can do is work towards getting your film shortlisted, and you have to play by the rules that the Academy have set out. So you also have to be very mindful. And when I say that, you have to be very mindful because it's a huge thing, and you don't play by the rules, then it gets complicated. So um, we tried our best and we did our best and we got shortlisted and we were over the moon at that time.
And then it goes to qualifying. And how
Then
was
it goes to qualifying. No, then it goes to nomination. So
sorry, nomination?
qualifying
Okay.
is when you win, then you get
That's right.
shortlisted,
That's right.
then you go to the nomination. So the
Mhm.
nomination process is the same again. It starts in January, probably before the 15th of January. Dates keep changing. So, Um, there's a voting period of about 4 to 5 days, I think, and all the votes go in, and then the results come out. So we got nominated. The nomination announcement is a little more exciting than the shortlist. It's not just an email and a press release. The Academy does a live announcement on their channel on YouTube, and because live short film, is not as big a category as all the other feature length
Mhm.
categories, it comes at the start. So our announcement was, I think, early in the morning at like between 5:30. So
Mhm.
we, all of us, some of our crew members are in India and we were here. So we all got together on Zoom, and we had someone play the the YouTube live at the same time, and we all had our um TVs on to just make sure that we no one is falling back and we know what's going on. And when we heard about that, we have a reaction video on my Instagram and like all the other people's Instagram page when they said Anuja. We actually there was drama in that. There was another film that starts with the letter A, and that was announced before us. And we, like, I mean, at least in my mind, I was like, oh man, I don't think
Mm.
Academy is going to pick another film with an A letter, but that's not even a criteria. That's not how it works. But when you're in that moment, your brain is your biggest enemy or your friend. Depends on how you see things. So I was like, oh. And then the second name was Anuja. And I, again, 5:30 in the morning, I'm like screaming, and my wife is with me, and the whole team is excited. And so that was just uh it was just I do not have the vocabulary to express how I feel or how I felt back then.
Mhm.
It's surreal. It's surreal to be able to find your work go from, where you thought like, oh, it'll just, be at film festivals, and then all of a sudden you find it at one of the biggest stages that we have for, the world of film and television.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, um, can you encapsulate that in a few moments of that experience of going to the Academy Awards and what builds up to it? Just so those of us that are dreaming of having that
Yes.
experience one day can at least know what to
Yes.
expect.
So the whole thing is very exciting, but at the same time, it also brings a lot of nervousness in you because
Mhm.
it's either this way or nothing, after that point. And we were at that time following a lot of films because at that point the competition like narrows down and like who the people are and like which films are there, and then you start following them on social media, and you see the disappointment that people share, and most of it is positive. It's just like they accept like, okay, we did it, we made it so far, but we hope to do it again. So it's very heartbreaking. It can emotionally, it's very challenging. So when that happened after the nomination in January, the same cycle goes again. In February, the voting starts again. This time, the voting period is a little longer than the shortlist and the nomination. If the shortlist and the nomination voting period was about 4 or 5 days, then I think this one for us was about a week. So that's when you start aggressively marketing your film again, and like you are you do the best that you can to convince the Academy members across the world to be able to vote for your film, because whatever that vote is going to determine who's going to win at the Oscars. That's the final voting period.
Yeah.
So it goes. It took place somewhere in like mid-February, and when we went to the Oscars, it it's it's a very premium event. Okay, there's nothing like it. I'll tell you. It's at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles, and the entire neighborhood is shut down.
Mm.
They block all the streets, and the way it works is the Academy, every film submits the names of people who are going to the Oscars, and the Academy will then send you a message which has a link to your Apple, wallet or Google, whatever, and the ticket pops up on its own. You don't have to do much. It's very highly controlled, and everything is just very much very organized. So when that ticket was in my hand of me going to the Oscars, I was like, I'm going to take a snapshot of this and save it forever. And
That's
then we get the driving the car pass and all that stuff. It's just fun stuff, like exciting stuff, small victories every now and then that you get excited about. The feeling to walking on the red carpet with just it's all red carpet all along, like even your car is driving on a red carpet, like it cannot get more fancier than this, like come on. So your car is driving on the red carpet. From the moment you step out of your car, it's all red carpet, and then we just walk all the way to the auditorium, which is huge, just huge auditorium, and it's just all the people in the auditorium are someone is something, what I mean. And for me, I tried to capture as much excitement as I could with my wife when on a video and photos and stuff and all that. But the moment that I think will stay with me forever is when I saw Anuja for 2 or 3 seconds when the nomination comes up
Mhm.
and you're saying, oh, this is best live short film, and they go with all the names of the films and they show those clips for like 3 seconds. That moment, I just closed my eyes and I was like, oh, okay. This moment no one is going to take away from me ever, like Denis Villeneuve, Jeff Goldblum, Timothy Chalamet, they're all looking at that screen as something that, you have contributed your heart and soul to. And, everyone is there who helped you make that film. It was a surreal feeling, yeah, it was something that I don't think I will ever forget, and I'll cherish it for the rest of my life.
That's awesome, man. So happy for you. That just sounds like the best.
Thank you.
That's the dream. That's the dream, you know. I
The
started
dream.
writing my Academy Award winning speech in 1995. So hopefully one day I'll be able to.
Hey, let's go together. Let's do something together. Like, I think we have enough information of what to do, how to do, and we can make it happen,
That sounds like a
And
plan.
sounds like a plan. It's a funny experience. It's a very thrilling, exciting experience.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Well, I'm so thankful for you for sharing that experience with us. Uh, two last questions here, and we can wrap
Sure.
this up. One is, you got anything you're working on right now that we need to look out for in the future?
Working on spending time with my wife because amidst all this craziness, we also got married on the 1st of January, right before the nominations came out in our
Right.
backyard. Uh,
Congratulations.
thank you. And it was a very blissful moment because my family was here from India. Her family was here, and we had a very small, intimate wedding. And because of all the chaos, we're just spending time for family and just wanting to do family stuff and recharge because it's exciting but also a little taxing, and I just want to, like, I'm a slow learner, so I go very slow with my pace.
Hmm.
But I'm having said that, I'm also like super excited to get onto something. If you know My excitement more so is like I really want to invest time into making feature
Hmm.
from here on because I don't know if I want to like do a short film again, or it's the same thought that I said, if I'm going to be miserable, I'm doing what not that I don't like doing this, but it's like it's a lot of work and short films come with their own challenges, and I just want to like invest more time and energy into doing a feature film. So that is what I'm excited for, and I'm hoping to find something in the next few months, I guess.
Okay. What did your dad say when he found out that your film was being nominated for an Academy Award?
Oh man, it's my dad and I have had complicated relationships growing up, but I wouldn't change anything that I've had with him because the joy that I see in him now and just seeing him, there was this one time, very quickly, I'll share this. I was on phone with him and I was trying to explain him something about like, hey, well, how about we do this and that? And he ends up saying, Krushan, you are right sometimes. I get it now, but let's try. And I'm like, oh, that's bigger than the Oscar. Hello. I'm right sometime. A South Asian dad telling his son that you're right sometimes.
Wow.
I'm okay with that. I've lived a full life.
Yeah.
I don't need anything more. I don't have to worry about anything else. I've made my peace with him, and we have a beautiful relationship, and distance and times heals all boo-boos, and we're great. And it's just like in India, I like to look at India as my mother who gave me birth, and America as my adopted mother, because I learned all the skills to live a life in
Mhm.
India. And my adopted mother gave me the recognition that, or like all of us thrive to, just in our industry. I'm going to talk about like people, different things, but America has given me this opportunity and this love, so I really have, these are all, they say good problems to have in life,
Yeah.
and like no
Yeah.
complaints, I don't look at challenges as something that, is negative. Challenges are challenges. No matter where you are, there will always be challenges. So I'm very grateful for India and America. And, they're both beautiful countries with their own set of challenges and positivities. But here we are living a good life.
Last question. I lied. There's one more question. What's a thought you would leave somebody who dreams of going on the journey you just went on?
Ooh, I know that people might cringe when I say this, but that's not the everything. Just focus on loving the art and the journey,
Hmm.
not the destination. Because once you are there, when you go outside, when you go out of it, you will be. My struggle right now is like, how do I fall in love with the art of filmmaking without an expectation of being there again?
Hmm.
It's 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 like an infatuation.
Yeah.
And I have to train my mind that
Yeah.
filmmaking or making films is way more than that. It's a small aspect of
Hmm.
filmmaking,
Hmm.
but that's not everything.
It's interesting because a lot of people, when they imagine filmmaking, they picture the red carpet and the
I
premiere
know,
and the
I
cameras and all
know,
that.
I
And there
know.
isn't a film that's been made that didn't spend 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 years of hard work to get to that one night. I burst somebody's
It,
bubble once. We had a premiere for a film that I produced, and we're in a limo, and we get you know the doors open and the cameras are flashing, and there's hundreds of people outside. You were really dressed up,
yeah.
walking through. It's a whole thing. And one of my friends who happened to be there, but wasn't part of the crew. He was just there. He goes, "It was crazy how perfectly timed the limo was, and the next person came." I'm like, "Dude, that limo drives around the back of the theater, picks up the next set of people. There's the same limo that just keeps going in a circle.
Same. Yep, yep,
It's all
yep.
fake. Even the red carpet night, it's all
Yeah.
fake." So I think,
It's It's good. See, as an artist, you want to be appreciated. I see when I said that, I don't mean I don't want to see myself on a red carpet. I don't want to see myself in glitz and glam. No, I'm not saying that. But just don't put that in the center of everything because then, it can be very disappointing and disheartening, and it might change the trajectory of you as a filmmaker.
yeah, I
So
agree.
put films and relationships before any of those things because when you get there with a team and you're celebrating with everyone, it just means so much more than you just being there by yourself.
Absolutely. I
That's just my perspective.
Great advice. No, I think it's fantastic advice. And
Thank you.
Krushan, thank you so much for taking on this, letting us be a part of this, going on this journey with you a little bit and experiencing it. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Lavinder. This has been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. And I am not surprised, but also surprised seeing how many paddles we have in our lives. And I want to keep talking to you if you would love
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. We'll continue this. Again,
Perfect.
thank you so much, and we can't wait to see what you do next. All
Thank
right.
you.
Until next time.